good afternoon. Thank you for meeting with me. I know you're really busy, but I really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk about your son, Joe. He's such a pleasure to have in class. Of course, he's almost always on green or above in our behavior charts, and never having a problem with him turning in any of his homework or anything like that. So he's really a pleasure to have in class. But I have been noticing with his homework and with classroom participation that he's having some problems with reading and writing. He has also been having a really difficult time, like I said, participating, like when we're doing read alouds or just ELA instruction when I have all the kids participate as a group. So if I ask him a question, like, Joe, can you answer this question? He just kind of looks at me and he's really...
Yeah, he does that at home a lot too.
Yeah, so I don't know what, hopefully at the end of this, we can have some things to fix that. So I have talked with him one-on-one, and he tells me he really likes to read, but he does have difficulties with it, and he gets really frustrated. But one thing I've noticed with Joe through talking to him and also through his work is he's very persistent. So, even though he's having a difficult time, he doesn't give up. So I do know that he is, of course, an ELS student. I conducted a couple of assessments with him so that way I could find some intervention strategies. That way, like doing the assessments, I can see where exactly he's having those problems, and I can pinpoint some new strategies for him to increase his abilities. So the first thing I assessed him with is his phonemic awareness, which it just means being able to hear, recognize, and manipulate individual letter sounds. So, like for the letter A, he should know that it says A and A. He did very well in this assessment in all aspects except for rhyming. I actually have his test here that I did with him.
Mm-hmm.
The scholastics test.
Okay.
And so you can see that he did really well when it came to doing the letter sounds.
So is this all his work?
Yeah, this is all his work.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him all of these things. That's one thing with phonemic awareness, it's all oral. So it's just saying a word and him repeating it back to me or saying specific sounds to me.
So how can I help with this at home? I don't have a lot of experience with phonemic awareness.
I wouldn't be too worried about it right now because he is doing really well in most of it. The only thing, like I said, is he's having a big trouble with rhyming. And that's this page here.
Okay.
But there are a lot of fun strategies that Joe can do, and one of these is picture words. So I will be providing him with a couple of decks of cards. They'll be laminated, and
so he can take these home.
He can take them home. He'll have a set for home, a couple sets for home, and a couple sets for in his classroom when he's done with his work. And each card will have different pictures on them, and so he'll have bat or car and cat and maybe park or things like that, and he'll have to group the cards depending on if they rhyme or if they don't rhyme.
Okay.
So like I said, yeah, they can be done at home.
So it'll be kind of like a game.
Yeah, exactly. It's something fun for him to do.
That'll be good for him to do on his free time and everything.
So next I assessed his phonics awareness. So phonics is really similar to phonemic awareness, except that it's actually dealing with the print and word concepts. So instead of doing everything orally, he's writing things, he's reading text, and things like that. So here I did a nonsense word test with him, which you should be familiar with because we do dibbles.
Okay.
And it's really important for him to succeed in phonics because phonics is really the gateway to him becoming a good reader, like I said. So the nonsense word test, like I said, it tests if he can read fake words. None of these words are real, and it just relies on his ability to sound out each individual letter sound and then blend the words together, which is actually where Joe had a lot of difficulty. So if you look here, he was able to especially down here, when it came to like the vowel sounds, he was saying each letter sound for like boy. He said oh yeah, but he couldn't say boy, so he wasn't recognizing one the digraph between or the diphthong between O and Y, which makes the oi sound. And he was just saying each letter sound. So that's something that he definitely needs to practice with. I mean, it's good that he's good with his phonemic awareness, which the other test showed, but this is something that he needs to look at.
Okay. So is this mostly what he struggled with?
Yeah, during this time, it was really just being able to blend the sounds together. And so to help him out with this, I want to, a really simple purchase, magnetic letters, alphabetic letters.
Where can I find those?
I found some at the beginning of the year in Target. You know, they have the clearance section in the beginning of the store.
Oh yeah, I love that section.
Yeah, I found some for $1.
Awesome.
So, really simple. And I'm gonna get some of these for him, and I can get 2 sets so I can send home one with you if you'd like.
That'd be great, thank you.
And we can sit down and build words together, and by going like this and blending the word together, so he starts to read all of those individual letter sounds as one word instead of unique sounds.
Okay.
So for phonemes,
one more. Is there a way I could do? How would I do the magnets with them at home?
What do you mean?
So how would I put it together?
So you can actually do it on your fridge because they're magnets. It's just a fun manipulative one. You don't have to use the magnet aspect of it, but having the letters to play with instead of writing them down all the time, it can be something a little bit more fun so he's not constantly doing worksheets or whatever.
That totally makes sense. Thank you.
So also to assess his phonics, I did a spelling inventory with him. And a spelling inventory is basically just a spelling test that gives you more detailed and descriptive results. So I read the words to Joe, and these are his, in the pencil, these are his responses, and then the red is what the word should say. Notice that he does really well with his initial and ending consonant sounds. So for fan, he's able to get the N in it, but not the middle vowel sounds. And this repeats throughout
I see that right on each one.
This repeats pretty much throughout the entire test. So it does go back to that success in phonemic awareness, but it also lets us know that we need to work with vowel sounds and with his blend and digraph spellings, because here you can see for dream he spells it GEM, so he's not recognizing the dura sound as a blend or the or the E8 long vowel team.
Okay.
And again, using those the magnetic alphabetic letters will really help him out during this, because we can spell words. I can spell them for him and ask him to sound them out. And again, it's just a really fun way to do it instead of looking at having him do spelling tests over and again. Worksheets, exactly.
Okay.
So next we kind of moved away from spelling and into his reading abilities. And so the first thing that we looked at is his fluency.
Okay. So what is fluency?
Fluency, there's a really great resource on readingrockets.org, and it says, in order to understand what they read, children must be able to read fluently, whether they are reading aloud or silently. And reading fluency just means that someone can read a passage or sentence of text without difficulty or error. So he's just able to, I know what this sentence says, I can read it to you out loud and not have to stop and struggle and try to sound out words or ask questions about it. He can just read it.
So how did he do in this section?
He did well, not as good as we would want him to, but he didn't struggle too much. So we did 2 tests here.
I see.
We did a running record. And so Joe had his own copy of the same passage, getting the recipe, and I asked him to simply read it out loud to me. And as he was reading it aloud, I just jotted down if he read the word, didn't read the word, if I had to help him out, if he said an incorrect word, what have you. So this passage has 176 words, and he was able to read 120 of them correctly. So like I said, he's not doing too bad, but he is below grade level.
Okay.
So, and that was also consistent with his San Diego quick test. So it's the same thing, except that it's not within a passage. He had to read these words. He actually had this copy.
Okay.
So he just had to read these aloud to me, and then same thing, I just marked down if he said it correctly or not. And the good thing about the San Diego quick test is that it gives me his independent, his instructional, and his frustration reading level. So that tells me that he's able to read at a pre-primer, so or like a kindergarten reading level, without any help, without any frustration, and he's able to read more for enjoyment. And then his instructional level would be primer, so he can read it by himself, but if he has difficulty and he might need help with some of the words. And then his frustration level is grade 1. So that means he is having too many difficulties reading it. He can't get through the text without some additional help. And of course, he is in the 2nd grade, so he's kind of far below. But given his ELL status, it's not too surprising because so much of the vocabulary is brand new to him.
Would you recommend that I read to him at home, or do you think with my accent, do you think it'd be harder?
One of the best practices for him is to hear model read alouds. So what I can do for you is send you home with some tapes of those model read alouds, something that we use in the classroom during free time, but now he can use it maybe at bedtime or just on
like
the weekend.
Story time.
Exactly. Going ahead and using those tapes and continuing to listen to them and also following along with them so that way he can hear what it sounds like and what it looks like to help him along with phonics and things like that. That goes along with his vocabulary skills, the pre-primer and instructional levels, things like that. It kind of matches. If he can read the word, does he understand what the word means? So we gave him the word meaning test, and Joe did well, but again, he's below grade level. So here are his responses. And it's just, I ask him to define the word, I say the word aloud, and then he repeats his definition. There's this great online resource called Promoting Vocabulary Development by Texas Education Agency that says the single most important thing you can do to improve students' vocabulary is to get them to read more. So exactly what we were just talking about. The more he can read or the more he can listen to those model read alouds, the more he will improve. Doing those, using those tapes, and then I also want to work with him more on our spelling words. So instead of having him only spell out the words every week, I'm going to be giving him his sheet and look for it in his homework because he will have to define the word, say what the word is like, and give an example of a word and use the word in a sentence.
Will this be a certain color, like the paper? Will it be a certain color so I can easily spell it?
It'll be in his typical packet.
Okay.
And it won't be a specific color, but you'll see it. It'll be a grid.
Okay.
And but he won't have to do all 10 words because it is kind of a relearn type of activity, but he'll have to do 3 to 5 of the words that I know that he will have trouble with, but will be easily worked with. Okay. So in the center of that box will be that word, and then he'll have the different quadrants where he'll have to write, like I said, the definition, examples, what it's like, and the sentence.
Okay.
So, like I said, it will be kind of a lot of work for him, but it will really be worth it. You'll start to see the difference at the end of the year, what his vocabulary is like. For our very last assessment, I focused on Joe's comprehension. And comprehension is being able to understand what has been read in a passage of text. And we do reading comprehension skills a lot in my classroom. What I had Joe do was a story map.
Okay.
So this story map was from that same story, Getting the Recipe. And we did it right after he read it, so that way everything was fresh in his mind. And he was very familiar with this. Like I said, we use it all the time. And he did well with it in that he was able to tell me the middle and the end of the events in the story, but he only, so it says, let's see it, do you have the 50 cents? That is a direct line from the passage. And the same thing with the ending, this is about 2 sentences directly from the passage.
So he wasn't supposed to copy it from word?
He shouldn't be, because with comprehension, he should be able to put it into his own words because he understands that text.
Okay.
So, I mean, he is understanding what middle and end means, so that's good, but it's not a very good representation of his reading comprehension because they're not his own words. So,
okay. How can I help him with this at home?
So with those tapes that I'm going to be sending you home with, if you're hearing him listening to them and you can hear the end, just go up to him and ask him, so what happened during that story?
Oh, or what happens in the end of the story?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you can do something similar to a story map, but verbally, and just try to be engaged with him so he's excited to tell you about it, rather than seeing at home. And like I said, the more he practices, the better he'll become. So we're finally at the end. I know it's been a lot of information, but it's just so important. Like I said, Joe's a really great kid, and I know he's frustrated because he really wants to do better.
Yeah. And, it's hard transition when I'm moving and everything.
Exactly. So the National Reading Panel says that teaching a combination of reading skills is going to be the most effective for reading instruction. That's exactly what we're trying to do with all of these different strategies and these different assessments. We're trying to get him to be successful. So like I said, just keep him read everything he can whenever he can, and at the end, you'll start to see these improvements. And what's really, really great about each of these components is that once he begins to improve in one, he'll begin to improve in all of them because they're so interrelated. So with this one in awareness, that's the building block for him to become a reader. He's already improved a great deal from the beginning of the year. So as you watch towards the end of the year, you'll start to see things like his vocabulary and his reading comprehension really improve too. So that's all I have today. Any other questions?
Not today.